Welcome back to the Pushing Through Loss podcast, where we share stories, honor resilience, and embrace strength. I am Kalila Green Siciliano, and it is my honor to begin the journey with you. Thank you for joining me today. We have with us Rebecca, who we had to actually reschedule a few times, so I'm really excited that you're finally here and that we're both able to connect. So welcome.
Yes, thanks for having me, and I'm glad our schedules finally synced all up.
We started talking before we recorded just a little bit about your background, and you told me that you own a wedding planning venue. And it was interesting in terms of saying
Yes.
like, well, that's how did you get into pushing through loss? And then when you told me how you came about getting to the business, I certainly understand and I can definitely empathize with where you got to this place. So well, let's start there and say, how did your business start?
Well, I don't have the traditional business starting story. So yeah, 2016, my 2000 no, I'm going to take that back.
Okay.
2015. 2015 was a bad year. In 2015, my grandmother had a stroke. They took removed life support, and then she passed away in the end of August. And then 2 weeks later, my husband had a heart attack and passed away as well. So, um, two losses back to back like that is devastating. Number one, I mean, it's just a devastating loss, but then it puts you into complicated grief. Complicated grief is more it's more intense
More
even than
complicated,
regular grief.
obviously.
Yeah, it's complicated. um, but it's just because there's so many more emotions to work through. I mean, I'm dealing with one loss and then I'm thrown into another loss. And although my grandmother's wasn't totally unexpected, you know, the whole process of her death was traumatic. And then to have my husband just very suddenly pass away from a heart attack was again traumatic. And so that year, like I don't remember a lot of what I did, but I did buy I did start a business in the middle of that year. And everybody tells you, like, when you're going through the grieving process, to never make massive decisions because you don't make decisions well. And I will say that is true. However, and so, like, in the process of them going through my grandparents' estate and selling their property, um, that I the Cambry house was for sale. So the Cambry house was built in 1867. It's a historic home. My grandparents loved the Cambry house. That they never lived there. They just bought it to preserve the history and the location. My grandmother had gone there as a little girl to pick apples, and she just loved the farm out there. And in the 70s, when it went up for auction, she bought it just to preserve the history. And because when she had gone out there, it was exactly the same way as she remembered it as a little girl. So when my grandparents had this property, it was like a big gathering spot for the family. So my family had some big events out there. We had some weddings. If it was a really nice day and we were all getting together, a lot of times we were out at the farm. And then it's right on the Mississippi. So there's a little cabin down there. And, we'd fish on the river. What my husband loved to go fishing out there. Like, I mean, he loved going fishing out there. We'd go like 3 or 4 times a year, if not more, just to go out there and hang out and go fishing. And so, I mean, this place is a big part of my childhood, and then it became a big part of my adult life as well, and then my kids' childhood as well, because I was taking my kids out there every summer. And so anyway, in the process of dealing with my grandparents' estate, they decided that they were going to sell this. And it like, yeah, they're gonna sell this. And
Were
then
you the only
um
one going through all the paperwork, or did you have to go through it with other people, like siblings or anybody else?
so my mother is one of four. So there were, so that we're dealing with her siblings going through this. And then I personally am one of three. And so like we're the three of us are helping my mom on her end of it. But yeah, I'm just a little cog in this wheel that's going on. And so like they brought in a real estate expert, like a realtor to kind of give them like some sort of idea of what to price this historic home. And they go through, and that realtor said, well, they're just going to have to completely gut this house. They're going to have to tear out all the walls, all the windows. And whoever buys this is going to have to completely remodel this because this isn't suitable for family. And like this home, I mean, it was built in the 1860s. It's never been remodeled. The windows are the original hand blown glass.
Wow.
Like upstairs, like it's even the original paint on the wall from when it was built. Like all the woodwork is original and stuff. Anyway, so the idea
Right, of
that they're
somebody
going to
coming
take
in
this
and gut
home that my
renovating this whole thing.
Oh, I mean, that was just like it made me sick, made me
Right.
like sick to think of. And I just was like, no, I'm not gonna lose one more thing. I'm not gonna lose anything else. I'm gonna buy this. And I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it. That's what I'm gonna do. And so I
And what did
bought
the rest
the
of your
farm.
family say? Were they like, you're crazy? Or were they like, have at it?
They were they're a mix of both. A mix of both. It was kind of like, you're gonna do what now? Okay.
Sure.
Sure you are. And like it was bought in stages. Like first I had to buy my mother's siblings out. And then my siblings went in on it with me initially. Because they thought, well, maybe we'd find another buyer that would appreciate the history of the home and stuff like that. And so we bought out my mother's siblings, and then at that point I was just kind of like, no, I don't. I'm not losing anything else. Like the
Right.
more we worked at the farm, the more I'm like, I can't lose this. I've lost so much this year. Like this is it.
Right.
I'm not I'm
It's
not
so
losing this.
interesting because when you are going through grief, I feel like there is one thing that a lot of people attach themselves onto,
Yeah.
and it's different for everybody. For some people,
Yeah.
it's a hat. For some people, it's a garment that the person wore. For you, it happened to have been that this farm was super important to your family, and not only to your extended family, but specifically to your husband. So you're like, I can't lose that also.
Exactly. It was like I was going through so much where I'd lost so much, and it was like this was one thing, like I didn't want to lose it. The idea of losing it was just so heartbreaking. And so anyway, I was able to magically buy it. I mean, it
Wow.
was one of those things like there was not a whole lot of thought process involved. Like the entire thought process was, I'm not going to lose this. I'm going to buy it.
I'll figure it out.
And then yeah, I closed on it and said, well, what did I just do?
And this is why you're not supposed to make big decisions when you're
I
going through
know,
grief.
I know. And like trying to explain to my friends, like I just bought this 3-bedroom house that I will never live in, was rough. I mean, I
Right.
don't think I still have friends that don't quite get this whole concept of buying a house you don't live in.
I mean, I
um
don't know that I
and then
quite get it, but more power to you.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, it was a lot of like they're like, okay, you're doing what now? And I'm like, well, it's an historic home. Like I can't move like kids and cats and dogs into like this museum type of a
Right.
home. And that's just, no, I'm not gonna do that. And
Right. That part I can understand.
yeah, it makes sense when you look at it kind of from that way. But
Right.
then there's like, well, what am I going to do with this? Because I don't know about you, but I can't afford upkeep and maintenance on a separate house just because I like it.
Right. I don't know many people who can afford that. So,
Right. Yeah, it was just kind of a, okay, well now what do I do with this? What do I
right.
do with this now? And so I started kind of thinking of like, what did my grandparents do with this? They did craft shows every fall. And then, like I said, I had some cousins that got married out there. And I thought, well, if we've had a few weddings, surely we can do a few more. And so I opened it. I bought the farm in 2016, and then I opened it as a wedding venue the next year. And so now reality is starting to really creep in. I've bought the farm.
I mean, it sounds like a good
And
book. Like, I bought the farm. I,
I bought the farm.
there it is.
Lost my mind and bought the whole farm. And and then I was okay. So it's like now I have to figure out how to run a business. I was a mail carrier before this. And so like I'd worked retail. I had a lot of customer service background, but I'd never actually owned a business.
Mhm.
And so luckily, I worked with small business development. That's a free government service that'll help you learn how to run a business.
Wow.
So yeah, I worked with small business development. They were able to kind of help me with what do you do when you own a business?
Yeah, especially because you're going to be working with people who are going to need venues, and not just venues, but like people to come onto property, and how do you get your liquor license, and how do you get all of the insurance, and I mean there's
Right.
so much that goes with it that you don't even realize.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And I mean, okay, one piece is figuring out the insurance, finding an insurance agent that can insure a venue.
Right.
And then how are you doing this venue? Are you going to be the person who helps them plan the entire thing? Or, and then are you going to have a liquor license? Are you going to go through that process? Or I mean, there was a lot of decisions in here, and if you've gone through the grieving process, decisions are not
No, there is a,
decisions are
a
not.
lot of like overwhelm when that comes to making decisions.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So it was really, really nice to be able to work with small business development and have them kind of sit down with me and like give me like the whole, they helped me create a business plan,
Nice.
which was really nice because then it kind of gave me that, okay, do this step, then do this step, and little
Right.
check boxes. And I was able to go through and check off the check boxes, and it help organize me a little bit better.
Mm,
um, and it was just it gave me purpose and focus. Like when you're in the middle of all that grieving, it just that you feel so scattered and nothing is right, and you lose that sense of self that I am the wife of Alan. I my grandmother is, I'm the granddaughter of, and so those things are both now gone, and it's like, well, who am I? What do I do?
right.
And part of my grieving process, I had some really difficult struggles with concentration. So I couldn't concentrate well enough to read.
Oh, wow.
I loved to sit down and read books. And that's one of the things I was able to regain. But during that first year and a half, 2 years, I just sit down and read a book. I couldn't concentrate long enough for that.
Right.
Um, I couldn't maintain concentration long enough to sit through a TV show.
Wow.
Like it was like my mind was just so scattered, and like so what do you do when you can't watch TV and read books and you're sitting at home without your husband to talk to? I mean, it was rough. It was
It
really rough.
sounds like it.
Yeah, but having the business was something that I could concentrate on, because there were so many little pieces of it that I could just focus on one little piece,
Right.
and then if my attention wandered and I moved on to another little piece, then I could do that, and it just kind of helped my scattered brain come back together a little bit and just
Right.
gave me that focus. And it kind of helped me like see beyond where I was at, because like it gave me stuff to look forward to,
Right.
like like like
Right. Oh,
gave
this
me
wedding is
things.
coming up, or this is coming up that I have to sign, or whatever it is that
Yes.
you can put in your calendar and say, I have a date that
Yeah.
I'm looking at.
Yes, exactly. Like, okay, I've got to go. I'm going to go and, do this pop-up event to tell people about my venue. And um, it gave me a, like, this whole renewed sense of purpose, this whole new identity. I'm now a venue owner. Um, it was, like I said, I did everything they tell you not to do. But it worked for me. It really did. It worked for me. It was so fulfilling. Like, I ended up quitting my job. I don't work for the post office anymore.
Nice.
um yeah, and I was able to kind of reinvent myself, and I moved. I like that first year, I never thought I'd ever move. Like,
Right.
I didn't think that was something I would ever do,
How far
and I
away were
did.
you living from the actual venue versus where you were?
I was living 45 minutes away from the venue. So
Mm,
I was driving back and forth. Like, it was like an hour and a half round trip if I had to run out there.
right.
And I mean, I could do it.
It's a
And I
lot.
did do it. It's a lot. It's a lot. And then, like, it's like a 30-acre farm with
Oh, wow.
I've got a 3-bedroom house and then a 1-room cabin on there too. And I listed the cabin on Airbnb. So, I'm running an Airbnb and a wedding venue.
Right.
And
And taking care of kids from what I remember you saying before.
yes, yes, I have 4 kids. So my big three were older. They were in their late teens and 20s when my husband passed away.
Mm,
And then my youngest was 6.
wow.
So I was dealing with the little one still at home. And I mean, the big kids were super supportive, but yeah, having the little one. But I mean, it kind of helped her too, just because we had something to do. We had
Mm,
something to look forward to. And then it really kind of helped, like, us preserve those memories. Like, it preserved the memory of my grandparents. I talk about my grandparents all the time now.
right.
And how much they love this property. And then too, like I said, this was my husband's favorite place. He loved this place so much. And so to be able to be out there all the time is just amazing. I mean,
Right.
he would have absolutely loved being out there all the time. He probably would have moved into the house.
You'd be like, what do you mean she passed away and you didn't move in? Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. He probably would have just moved in there because he loved it
Nice.
so much. But so yeah, one of the things I do now, like, my grandparents had a craft show every fall. I do my craft show, but I do it on Memorial Day. So Memorial Day Monday, that's my big open house and craft show. And
Nice.
I like doing it then because it's just kind of a nice way to honor their memory and what they did. And it's kind of a slow, quiet day where, people can come out and see the farm. So
Yeah. And I feel like it's because it is Memorial Day, it brings that much more meaning to anybody else who's coming out there as well.
yeah. And it's neat too, because, like, I get people out there who remember my grandparents and they want to talk about them. And then I get
That's
people
really
who
sweet.
remember my husband and will tell me stories about him. And then there's other people who just remember coming out to the farm, like, when they were kids and stuff like that too, like the different events that my grandparents had. And so they'll come out and tell me their memories of being out at the farm. And then I think one of the things I really love about having this as a venue is that, like, my special place becomes their special place. So
Right.
I've had couples who got married there that now come back, and, like, um they did the, like, baby reveal photos. And you
That's
know
so sweet.
yeah, brought the baby after they had the baby. And just, like I said, my special place becomes their special place too. and
Right.
and I really, really love that part.
And I feel like in the way that you describe it, it makes your grandmother still be here. Like, I know she's not physically here, but her
Right.
spirit certainly lives on. And especially if you can create those family memories with other families, I feel like that's exactly what she wanted.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think she would have absolutely loved this and what I'm doing out here. I think she would have I I think both of my grandparents would have loved to see how well I'm keeping taking care of the farm and then just being able to share it. I mean, my grandfather just loved walking people through the farm and telling them the stories and the history. He absolutely loved that part of it.
Mm,
And my grandmother, she loved having people over. I mean, anytime we were anywhere, she wanted them all to come over to her house. So
nice.
so I mean, this is kind of, yeah, it's kind of a great way to just like honor their memories and stuff, just by like taking this and making it into something special for everybody.
Right. And I think that you said at the beginning, obviously in grief, people say don't make these big decisions. But this was something where, yes, it was a big decision and it was something that happened sort of out of thin air. But at the same
Yeah,
time, it was something that your grandparents had done for so long in a different capacity that it wasn't exactly something brand new. It's not like you had never seen this
right.
farm before. It's not like you had no connection to it. So while, yes, I still say go with that advice of don't make any big decisions, don't move across the country, don't move to a different country, do things within the realm of what you are used
Right,
to. But
right.
this is something that's one of those that really sounds like it just flowed with exactly where it was supposed to go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really think so. I really think that I was meant to buy the farm because like I had not planned on buying another house. I mean, I had really had zero plans. I had zero plans of buying a vacation home, like I
Right.
didn't have a savings for this or anything like that. This was not planned. Um, but like just kind of the way everything came together, like I was able to do it. And I've technically bought it like three separate times, and three separate times I mean buying out siblings and my mom's siblings and my siblings and stuff. um each time I thought, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, and every single time it worked, and I was able to make this process work. And yeah, it was just, I really felt like it was meant to be.
That's awesome. With the grieving process, did because you had three older kids and then one younger kid, how much did they enjoy it or help you with it in terms of their own grieving process of losing not only a great grandparent, but then their father within less than a month?
um well, so the older kids, they came and helped me a lot. I mean,
Mm,
they were super helpful, like, and my sons still live close where they could come, and they still mow the lawn for mom out there, which it's a lot. I think I mow like 3 acres out there.
wow.
So it's a lot. It's a lot of mowing. So
I'm
um,
sure.
yeah, and yeah, they still come and mow for me and do different things like that. They've been super helpful. And then my daughter too is like, um, she's she is 15 now. So I mean, we're starting to the point where she's a lot more helpful than she was at 6.
Right.
But yeah, no, she loves it out there, and like taking all of those memories and keeping them alive for her has been really good. And then to like, it kind of gave her like some purpose and things to do and friends to make. I mean, like we made so many friends during this process of opening a business and moving. And I mean, like it just pulled us both out of that shell that we were in when we were grieving.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like sometimes you could say, well, this is what my husband would have done, or this is what my grandmother would have done. And it sounds like I mean, as obviously when you lose somebody, you know them so well that you can sort of assume, yeah, this is what they would have done. But it really does sound like you could be like, well, I think that my husband would have wanted it this way. And well, given that he loved the property so much, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think um I don't I think if he was alive, I this wouldn't it wouldn't have happened this way. I don't think that he would have loved to go out there and go fishing the whole time.
It's
I
like
mean,
you
it would
run
have
the
been,
business, I'll be retired.
Yes, he would have retired out there fishing. I mean, that was just probably not what he would have been like. Oh yeah, he probably would have gone along, but he would have probably been like, okay. um, yeah, my grandparents, I think if they would have, I think they totally would have done the same thing that I did.
Right.
But yeah, it just kind of it's been this process of, even me like trying to figure out the wedding industry and, coming into owning a business. If you would have told me before that this is what I would be doing now, I would have said, I don't think that's going to happen.
Like, no, I have a job. I'm good.
Yeah. You're gonna tell me what now? I'm gonna
Right.
move. I'm gonna buy this. And, like, I never would have believed that story.
Yeah.
That is now my story. I
Right.
never would have believed that story.
Right. I think it's incredible. Where does it go from here in terms of saying like, okay, now you've got weddings, you've got people coming back. Um, in terms of keeping everybody's memory alive, what else, I guess, happens on a day-to-day basis to keep it going?
So it's telling the story. Like, the farm is all about the history. There's so much history there, and not even mine, but like the Cambry family, the family that built the home.
Mm,
And so I've been able to do a lot of presentations, like talking about the history of the location and the farm. And so I get to tell my grandparents' story all the time about how much they love this home and stuff. And so I get to share their story all the time. And that to me is amazing. Like, part of owning a wedding venue is getting in front of brides before they think about getting married.
mm,
Like, the very first thing a bride does is pick her wedding venue. And she already has, like, when she gets engaged, that she already has an idea of what her wedding is going to look like and where her wedding's going to be. And so part of the thing I learned about marketing a wedding venue is that you need to be in their mind beforehand. And
mm.
so I do a lot of presentations, to different groups on like the history of the location and the farm. And um, like, I'm a different type of wedding venue. I'm not like the trying to think of how to put it. I'm not the bar, I'm
Right.
not mine, I'm not like this brand new building that somebody built where it's like you know, yeah, I'm not
Right.
that.
It sounds
I'm
like it's
this,
much more laid back and relaxed atmosphere, and people can come to really
yeah.
celebrate the couple instead of, coming to have a bash. And, I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but I feel like that's what you're describing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I bring like a different aspect to it too. It's like, you know it's one day. Your
Hmm.
wedding is one day of your life. Like,
Right.
I'm not here to make this day super stressful for you. I'm here to make this like the most relaxing and enjoyable experience so you can make good memories here.
Right.
And so, like, a lot of the things that I did to like build my wedding venue, and what I'm doing with it is like to make it as easy as possible for the couple and stuff.
Hmm.
And so my wedding package is like from Friday until Sunday. So so that they can just go there and spend a weekend and get married.
Right.
That's kind of the thing I tried to do, is like, I don't want to rush them. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to enjoy their time. I don't want to be the person that's like, stressing them all out and stuff like that. I just want them to get out there and enjoy their wedding.
Right. So, given obviously now that you work with brides almost on a, monthly basis, I don't know if it's a weekly basis, monthly basis, but a lot,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that does that make it a little bit more difficult given the situation that you're in at this point?
Um, yes and no. I mean, kind of, but not really.
Okay.
So I find it harder for me to deal with couples that have been together a long time. Like, the newly married, the people who are just ready to get married, everything's amazing and it's great, and they have all of that love and joy and affection. And I like seeing that part. I
Mm,
like seeing that this is how we're going to join our lives together. That I do like seeing that. I mean, and sometimes it is a little harder, especially when they're my age and they're getting married and here I am not. But I mean, sometimes that's a little harder. The parts that are harder for me, like with couples, is seeing the ones that aren't appreciative of their spouses.
Oh,
And those are
interesting.
usually couples who've been married for a long time and they're just like, my husband does this and it's so annoying and I can't, you know, like that part I have zero.
Right.
I have zero tolerance for, that part. Like, because I would give anything for my husband to be here annoying me.
Right.
Like, yeah. So for me, the young couples that have all this hope, and I like seeing that part's good. It's
Hmm.
the couple who's been with each other a while and they're complaining about each other. Those are the ones I have a hard time with.
That makes
But
sense. And then
yeah.
did you end up deciding that you were going to be the planner also, or did you hire somebody out for that? Because I could imagine adding that layer to it adds a little bit more complication.
Yeah, and no, I'm not the wedding planner.
Okay.
I let the brides do that themselves. Most of my brides just want to do it themselves. They
Oh,
they're they're
interesting.
they're totally happy to sit down and plan everything for their wedding. And like I give them suggestions. Like I can tell them like what caters we've used before,
Hmm.
and photographers and stuff, that sort of thing. I can give them suggestions,
Right.
but I like to let them pick out their wedding themselves. It's their wedding, it's their choices. I like to let them do that. And then the other side of that is like I am one person.
Right.
I'm one person. I haven't hired a staff or anything. So it's just me out there doing things. And like I keep it all as simple as I can. And so like I said, I just let the brides do it themselves. It's a lot less work for me.
Right.
Like if I were to plan it, like it would be a lot more work and a lot more stress. And um, again, we're back to part of this grieving process. Was like when I first started, like extra work and extra stress. No,
Right.
no, thank you.
Right. Make it as
So
simple as possible to
yeah,
keep going forward.
yeah, let's make this simple, and that's kind of been my rule with the whole thing at the farm. Let's just keep this as simple as possible. And
Hmm.
like other wedding venues will go through and like, oh, they'll charge for everything. Like everything that you want to do out there is an extra charge. Like one of them nearby around here even charges extra if you want to take pictures of your wedding. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. That's what I said. I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I don't.
Here are the packages. You can have it with all the pictures that you want for each of them.
Yeah, yeah. My packages, the only difference between my packages is how much time you have at the venue and if you want me to do more work. Like if you want me to
Oh,
clean up,
interesting.
yeah, if you want me to clean up, you want me to do some more setup stuff, then I will charge more. But this is the venue, this is the price.
Right.
That's it. I keep it simple.
So you keep
Just
everything there in terms of like chairs and tables and all that kind of stuff. It's not like they have to go out and find a lot of that stuff.
yes and no. Like some of that I do, some of that I don't. But it's like I said, I have it all pretty clear of like
Right.
what is included. If it's there, it's included.
All
That's
right.
kind of the way. If I've got it, it's included in the package. Unless
Right.
you're asking for more time at the venue or asking me to do more work, then then yeah, that's it. but
Nice.
but again, part of that process of figuring that out was like sitting down with small business development and talking to them about me and what, like when I first started, I was still working the full-time job
Mm,
and and raising a 6-year-old by myself, basically. I mean, the older kids were there but they weren't. And
right.
you know my time was like super, like I had I had like this much time to run this wedding venue.
Right.
And so
And
it
if
was
you
like,
already can't concentrate, you really have to go with the things that you know that you're capable of in the moment.
yep, yep, exactly, exactly. So yeah, that was the way we started it, and I've kept it that way just because it works for everybody, and like my brides seem to appreciate that. I'm
Yeah.
keeping it as simple as possible for them. Like
Yeah.
we're here to relax and enjoy your wedding.
That's
That's
amazing.
yeah.
So then with your own grief, I know obviously it took a lot to get to this point and to be able to say,
A
okay, one
lot.
step at a time, one day at
Yep,
a time, one moment at a time
absolutely.
sometimes. What other
Absolutely.
things did you do that helped you get through those steps? Because just throwing yourself into a business, I feel like sometimes you could just push it to the side and say, I'm not even going to deal with it.
Um, I so so yeah, I'm 8 years out now. So I mean, this is 8 years of processing.
Right.
Um, in the beginning, like I joined some Facebook support groups for widows. And and I actually am the moderator or the admin for the Facebook support group now.
Oh,
So
wow.
I kind of help other, yeah, it helped me so much to be able to talk to other people. Like one of the things is like you feel like you're losing your mind, you
Right.
feel like you're going crazy, and that's totally normal.
Right.
But and that, and then like all the health stuff, like my vision changed, like it was just going through all the physical symptoms of grief that nobody really talks about, like physical symptoms of grief, where we're like, I lost some hair, and I mean it was it was
Right.
rough stuff.
Right.
If you've been in that type of grieving situation, you know exactly what I'm saying. But you feel like this is only happening to you, but when you reach out and like talk to other people, and know that you're not alone with all this crazy stuff that's going on in your brain and your body and stuff, like that was so helpful. And then and so yeah, I that was like one of the major things that really helped me, was like reaching out and getting that support system of
Mhm.
people who knew what I was dealing with. um let's see, thinking like what, like I said, I am in such a much better place than I was. I also set like the little goals for myself. Like um September was the month my husband passed away. And like I said, that my grandmother passed away the end of August. My husband passed away like the 10th of September. And so and then not only that, so at the end of that first year, the auction for my grandmother's property was in September.
Wow.
I mean, it was like like feel like nobody, it really felt like nobody understood what I was going through, because of why would they have scheduled that month, right? You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
And um so I scheduled a trip at the end of September. End of September, beginning of October, I scheduled this big trip with my sister. We went to New York City, and I called that trip the celebration of surviving September.
No
Because
joke.
I took that helped me so much to be able to sit there and like, okay, when things felt like they were ending, I said, okay, we're planning the trip. Where are we going to go eat on day 2 of the New York trip?
I was gonna say, knowing now what I've been talking to you about, that sounds exactly in line with how you grieve, because everything was all about planning ahead. So if you could focus on something that was farther ahead, you could plan out detail by detail and then say, okay,
Yep.
I have it set. Now I can just look forward to it.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Kind of refocusing myself on something positive and
Right,
happy,
right,
that for me, like instead of like focusing on what wasn't here and what was going wrong and what was bad, it reshifted my focus.
right. The
So, I
hard
mean,
part is only when you come down from the trip. Like I know there are so many times I'm looking forward to something, and then at the end, you get that depression again because you're like, I
yeah,
put so much into this.
yeah, yeah, like, yeah, we did the celebration of surviving September.
Right.
And it was amazing and great. And then, yeah, I had to come back home, and then, but then, it was like, okay, well, what's going on with the business now? Let's work on my business plan some more and try to really, okay, now I got to create a website. You know how to create a website? Nope. Well, I guess we're gonna have to figure that out.
Right, right. Next on the list.
Yeah, what's next on the list? Oh, now I have to figure out how to do a Google business listing. Do you know how to do?
Right.
I mean, just, moving on from, instead of tackling it all at once, because that was not a possibility.
Right.
It was going through each little step and figuring out each little step and getting to the next step in the process. And
Yeah.
I, like I said, I was really lucky that I had a lot of help with that. I mean, my family helped me to some extent, but none of my family owns a business either. So you're gonna have to go like, okay, well, they can help with ideas, but small business development was able to step alongside me and come together with the, this is how you make a business plan, and this is how you
Right.
figure out how to market your business, and that side of it. Like I said, the trip helped, and I still do that to some extent, like where I'll take, if things are going really crazy, I'm like, okay, where are we going next? um,
Just need a quick break.
yeah, where are we going next? Let's start planning a trip. How much is a plane ticket to Boston?
Nice.
Yes, that kind of thing. And it just kind of, again, like working with changing my focus from what I don't have to what I do have, and what I, what's going right versus what's gone wrong,
Right. I
makes
love
a big
that
difference.
mindset shift because I always say you're still here, and I don't think that the person that is gone would want you to live in that grief constantly. Of course you're going to miss them. Of course you wish they were here. There's no question
Oh,
about that. But at the same
absolutely.
time, you're still here, and there needs to be a meaning to that because otherwise, why? Right? And
Right.
so if you can just say,
Exactly.
let's keep moving forward, why not?
Right. Well, I mean, there's no other choice. You
Right.
are still here. You have to keep moving forward. And, I mean, just because I'm moving forward and taking the steps doesn't mean that I've forgotten my grandmother or my husband. Like
Right.
I still remember. In fact, like every day, every day of this business is talking about my grandmother
Right.
and being at the place my husband loved the most. I mean, they're two things that honor them like every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's amazing. Um, for people who are interested and they would like a venue, please tell them where they can find you.
So I am Cambry House, Cambre house and farm. So cambryhouse.com is the website. Cambry period house is my Instagram, and Cambry House on Facebook at this time. If you type Cambry House and Illinois into the search engine, I should pop up somewhere.
Perfect. And then in terms of the Facebook group that you said that you're an admin for, what is that so people can find you in case they need you?
It is Christian Widow and Widowers Support.
Okay, we froze for a second, but I'm gonna try and edit this part out. But basically, we have on Facebook
Oh, there you
Christian
go.
widow, yeah, Christian widow and widowers. And you have to answer some questions because unfortunately there are some scammy people out there. Okay, we lost Rebecca for a second. Hopefully she comes back on. But if not, I do want to thank you so much for joining me today. Rebecca, honestly, is an amazing resource. If you can find her on Facebook, um, she's a great person to talk to in terms of grief. There we go. Okay, we're back. Sort of. I was trying to wrap up to say that for anybody who wanted to find you on Facebook, you're obviously an amazing resource.
Woo! Sorry about that. I must have.
There is something crazy with the signal at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Reach out to me on Facebook, and I'm more than happy to. All right.
Perfect. Thank you for joining me today on Pushing Through Loss. I hope this episode has provided support, understanding, and a sense of community. Remember, you are not alone on your journey, and you have the strength to face the challenges that come your way. If you found value in today's conversation, please leave me a review and consider sharing it with others who may benefit. Together, we can help each other heal and activate our inner strength warriors. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations, and until next time, you got this.